First night. 3 dull knocks on the door. John woke up instantly. He sat up slowly in bed, listening. Silence. His heart was still pounding loudly in his chest, but according to the clock, it was exactly 3 a.m. He carefully got out of bed and went to the door. The peephole showed emptiness. There was no one outside. Just the long hallway of his apartment, lit by the dim light of the streetlights outside the window. He stood by the door for another minute, trying to convince himself that he had just imagined it, and then went back to bed. But he did not fall asleep. He felt that it would happen again, and he was right. The second night, exactly at 3 a.m., 3 knocks, louder than the last time. Now they were more insistent. John rushed to the door again, this time turning on the light in the hallway. The peephole again showed nothing. He opened the door slightly, carefully looked out. The hallway was empty, but the air, it felt thick, heavy, like before a thunderstorm. Like someone was still there, but he just couldn't see them. Night 3. Now he was waiting. He sat in a chair opposite the door, clutching his phone in his hand, ready to record the sound or call the police if something went wrong. 3 knocks. But this time they weren't coming from outside, from inside, as if someone was knocking on the door from his own apartment. John froze. A chill ran down his spine. He slowly turned his head to the other side of the room, where the second door was, the bedroom. The dull knock came again, from the bedroom. But he was alone in the apartment, wasn't he? Night 4. John couldn't ignore it anymore. He set up a camera by the front door and pointed the second one into the room where the knocking had come from last night. He wasn't going to fall asleep. He sat in the chair, arms crossed over his chest, waiting for this moment. When the clock struck 3, he held his breath. 3 knocks. Dull, heavy, slow. He jumped up, threw open the door to the hallway. No one. Emptiness. Just like the nights before. But now he had the recording. He went back to the living room and started the review. The camera at the entrance showed emptiness at first, but then his heart started beating faster. As the hands of the clock on the recording approached 3 in the morning, the camera screen shook, and in the next frame, there it was. A shadow. A tall, elongated figure, as if not fully formed, stood at his door, not touching it with its hands. It simply stared. It was impossible to make out the features of its face, if it even had any. But when the clock on the recording struck 3, the shadow moved, and the door rang. 3 knocks. John felt cold in his fingers clutching the mouse. His breathing quickened as he rewound the recording further. The figure turned and took a step back, but it did not leave. She slowly dissolved into the darkness of the corridor, merging with the shadows, as if she had never existed. But he saw her. Now he knew that she was real, and the worst thing? He couldn't see her with the naked eye, but that didn't mean that she couldn't see him. Night 5. John couldn't stop. He watched the recording over and over again, staring at the silhouette that didn't exist to the naked eye but was there. Whoever it was, it came back every night. And this time, John decided that he would look it in the face himself. 2:59. He stood at the door. His hands were shaking, but he forced himself not to move. 3 knocks, but now they were closer, as if it knew that he was waiting. John took a deep breath and swung the door open. He froze. There he was, himself. Exactly the same clothes, the same face. Only his eyes were empty, as if there was nothing left inside. And before he could close the door, his copy stepped forward. And John was on the other side. He didn't fall, didn't feel a jolt, he just swapped places. Now he was standing in the hallway, and his copy walked into the apartment and closed the door without turning around. John tried to knock. 3 knocks, exactly the same. But now there was no answer. He no longer existed for the world. He stood in the shadows, where he should never have been. Time passed. How much? He didn't know. But one night his door opened again, and a new man stood on the threshold. John stepped forward, because now it was his turn. He had to replace the other.